You are listening to the Success Leaves Clues podcast, where we're having conversations with regular people doing outstanding and legacy-changing things in corporate America and entrepreneurship. If you're looking for the blueprint to help you make less mistakes on your journey to freedom and ultimate purpose, then this is the podcast for you. And now, here's your host, Dr. K. Dr. K.
Hey, I'm back with another episode. And look, we're going to have something special today because we have two Kevins on the line. So Kevin Green and Kevin Washington, we're going to hit y'all with an extra dose. And I'm going to get into exactly how Kevin is using his culinary and speaking career to impact and help people with their lives. Kevin, how long you been in culinary?
Yeah, what's up, Dr. K? Culinary arts. I've been in the hospitality, culinary industry for about 17 years.
Man, 17 years. And you did a pivot. So it wasn't always the way you're doing it now as an entrepreneur and teaching it the way you do currently.
Nah, so, I got interested in food like when I was 15, sophomore year of high school in a home ec class. And it kind of evolved and grew from there and thought I wanted to be a chef, but I hated working the nights, man. And so fresh out of college with a degree in nutrition, I quickly learned that I wanted to do food, but I had to figure out how to do food in a way that fit me. Mm-hmm. And that took some time. The personal chef model has given me the ability to do that. And now we're moving into the speaking space. So, yeah.
I see culinary as only two sides. It's a huge spectrum, right?
Yes.
I don't never see it in between. I see people who absolutely love culinary, love to cook, have a passion for it. They cook with their heart. And then I got people who absolutely hate getting in the kitchen. So what do you see from your perspective? And how do you teach somebody who really doesn't have that passion or that love for it?
Man, that's a deep well. I could go on there for a while. So let's see. I'll start with, professional cooking is so different than like what we've come to see on TV. I just finished watching The Bear, I was a little backtracking, and it's like, that's such a well done show, but it highlights some of the ins and outs of the industry, and the food TV is it glamorizes chef culture nowadays. And so there's another side to it. I'll say it that way. But cooking at home is so different. And I think, I was a high school educator for 5 years, and I always said, like, not all of you should be chefs, but each of you should know how to cook. Like, it's a basic life skill. You don't really have to enjoy it even or have fun with it, but like, you need to know a few basics like to survive. And so there's a few different ways you can look at that.
Yeah. It's impressive that you found your passion and you've been doing this, over 17 years, but there's so many people who go throughout life and they struggle with finding their passion. Yes. How was you able to find it so early and identify that, hey, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll trace it back quickly. When I was a small kid, I can look back and see like themes and threads that just kind of connected as I got older. I had interest in like arts and crafts. I liked working with my hands. I'm a drummer, and so there was a musicality to it. I even had a book on health, like this little boy holding an apple. Like somehow that evolved. And then when I was in high school, I liked the artistry of food. Like I would get to class early and flip through cookbooks, man. And so I was just like intrigued by the artistry and then the sport of the kitchen. And it grew organically. But I ran into a roadblock when I graduated college, and there are questions I hadn't asked, things I hadn't considered. So again, I had to kind of figure out what that meant at that time. But it began early, and it just grew and evolved.
Yeah. And what would you say is like your favorite environment to cook in? Like, do you like to cook at home? I know your background is as a personal chef, so that one-on-one feeling with others, or in a huge restaurant, that kind of.
Yeah. So I'll say this, it's obviously two different environments, starting out in fine dining and that traditional chef trajectory. That's a whole different world, and it's full of like misfits and bandits, it really is. But it's also like, it's like a band of brothers, some people get into it for sex, drugs, rock and roll, and there's that if you want, whatever. But like, that's different. There's a nuance to that you can't find in the personal chef space, which is what I do now. And so there's trade-offs. Like, you're not going to find big pots of stock simmering for days, and you're not going to find Wagyu on the counter every day. But for me now, the personal chef model has been really great. I've been afforded the luxury of, cooking for some high end and VIP clients and notable names. And I've been in some lovely homes. And so, it's nice to go into $1 million homes and see a nice kitchen with 6 burner gas stove and 2 double ovens, but you can't treat people's homes like it's a restaurant kitchen. Like, you can't be breaking stuff. So there's a respect for that. So you got to tread lightly. And so there's a trade-off in 2 different nuances.
What's the feeling like as, like you said, you can't break people's stuff, right? So you can't go in there with that Hell's Kitchen mentality. I'm going back to TV, man.
Yes.
But, you can't go in there with that type of mentality. But how does it feel, being in somebody else's space and having to open up? Yeah,
I've always said it like this, like, I onboard a client, I walk them through a process and tell them what to expect. But like, I'm a guest in your home, mm-hmm. Like, I want to connect with you. You can call someone else to do a similar service, but like, I want to have an authentic experience and a connection. But like, I'm a guest in your home. I'm going to have attention to detail. I'm going to treat your home with respect. I'm going to clean up and leave it likely better than when I found it. And, I think once I had an issue with like a disposal, but like that was at a rental cabin, so it wasn't on me. But like, I treat their home with respect, understand I'm a guest in their home. They've done some things to accommodate my presence there, like cleaning out the fridge. And so we want to make sure it's a win-win situation. Yeah.
Yeah. How does it impact you by you personally? Like, what do you get from being in the culinary space?
Yeah. So you probably hear this from a lot of folks if they're in the food world, but like, there is truly something about the love that goes into that, from a creative side of things. Like, it's an expression and extension of me. And so, when a dinner party for me is a 12-hour day, and I'm in someone's house from like 12 to 6 prepping and making as much from scratch. And so that's a labor of love. I'm on my feet. I rarely sit down. And so by the time we do dinner service and serve them and create this experience, like, that's an extension of me. Like, I've had some people get up, this happened only once, but like take a smoke break in their little courtyard. I'm like, I've been here all day. Like, that was a slap. Like, that's not cool, because I'm doing something for you. Like, it matters to me and I want it to mean something to you too. And so, for with that said, but like, it's incredibly rewarding to put yourself out there on a plate, so to speak, and create something for someone else that you see that they value, appreciate, and comment on. So that's incredibly rewarding.
Yeah. So most of what you do is in the hospitality industry, right? And that's a form of service. Mm-hmm. And I always try to tie the things that I do and the businesses that I have into service. Mm-hmm. So I don't care if I do IT by trade. Okay. So even though it might seem kind of, what's the service in that? But there's always an end customer. There's always somebody that's on the end that can be impacted, have their life change, be motivated, or something that I can provide to that person, right? Mm-hmm. And the same thing if you have an industry like real estate. So on the flip side, what do you feel culinary and what you do provides to other people, and how does that impact their lives?
Yeah, so I do 2 things with my current personal chef business: in-home meal prep and in-home dinner parties. And so 2 different audiences, 2 different objectives there. But the meals, it's for busy professionals or families that don't have time to cook anymore and want to eat well. And so that's an obvious problem solved. And the dinner party thing, though, when I relaunched, after I taught and relaunched the business 2 years ago, I was like, what problem am I solving by cooking dinners, But the neat thing, because it's not like, it's not one of those like urgent needs per se. And so I thought about it, and the more I did, it's like, this is like a 2-hour experience where, much like going out to your favorite restaurant or a high-end restaurant, it's like, let's step away from the day-to-day. Let's step away from maybe the problems and challenges of daily life, and let's have a moment around the table with excellent food and service, and let's just forget all our troubles for a few minutes. Let's connect with friends. Let's have a conversation. Let's have an amazing experience, and let's create a memory that we can reflect back on for years and months to come.
Yeah. So starting your business, what was that like as far as challenges and what you had to overcome mentally? Because being an educator and being in that public sector, right, there is security. Yeah. I don't think you can get much more secure than being a teacher, a firefighter, police officer, military, like those government jobs, that public sector has a lot of comfort. And so to become an entrepreneur, I mean, it had to be, just totally 180, right?
So I was a corporate chef for a large national dining chain around 2013, and I was 28. And like I did all the right things growing up. I was like that prototypical student. I made the grades. I got the scholarships. I ran distance running. I was a college athlete, and I did all those things. But like no one else ever taught me to take risks. No one else ever taught me to embrace uncertainty, and no one else told me that like, oh, by the way, you didn't have to know everything before you started something, And so I actually left that corporate job with the benefits and the salary and all that stuff. And by the way, a 9-to-5 work schedule and go to the gym on lunch. And I walked out on it. Like for me, it was a divine whisper. And 6 months later started the business. And so that was one of the hardest seasons, the hardest seasons of my life I had to go through. But like, it took 2 years to get my personal chef business up to where I could go full time. And then actually left and taught high school for 5 years and relaunched because I realized for me, the security of that government job or whatever, like it was a box for me. Like I was trapped. There was a ceiling to what I could do from financial side, but like I knew that I was made for more. And so to sum that up, like I quit 2 jobs for that reason, where I wanted to be passionate. I wanted to live on purpose. And I wanted to make sure I could develop my potential and not be limited. And so, there's a price to pay. There's a trade-off, and it's not easy. There's some lessons learned.
I kind of love that it took you 6 years, not for you and your past, but I love that because, or more so, I love that you're saying that, right? Not that it took you that 6 years, but I love that you're being honest and open about that because people, look at somebody that's successful, or they look at something on social media and things, and they think it's an overnight success and they think it's easy. But it's oftentimes that there's a lot of background work, a lot of planning, a lot of ups and downs that happen in between, reaching the level that you want to be at.
Yeah, I'll note there too, just to add on to that, like, I'm in the same boat. I'll see people like on Instagram and think, wow, like look at that. But no, like I got married young, and that's another story for another time. But like in the culinary space, that's really difficult. I wouldn't recommend it. And, so I went down to one salary after I left the corporate job. And like, man, I didn't know, like I miscalculated. Was the bills going to get paid? And I had friends invite me out to a movie, and I was actually like, I don't know if I can go. Like I was in that spot, but it was tough. And I was working 30 hours in a friend's kitchen. I was doing like grunt work. I was peeling 50 pounds. So you see an onion in my branding. I was peeling 50-pound bags of onions way far down the road. I was like backtracking, but it was a price to pay, and it was part of the process, and it's paid off.
What is the onion tied to for the branding?
So onions, if you think about it, it's got the outer papery layer, and then it's got the actual flesh, the layers, and then you've got the core. And I want to get to the core of the matter. I want to peel back those lies and limiting beliefs and get to what really matters. And for me, I talk about a 3P framework. I talk about purpose, passion, potential. But for me, those are tenets, not just of my life and business, but had I understood that more readily at 21, I would have probably made some different decisions. And so now I'm helping others filter out that decision-making process so they don't have to go through the missteps I did, and they can go further.
Yeah. I can vividly see what you're talking about with this onion and, how you have to peel back. One thing I always think about too is how to break down the onion. So there's different ways. Like I bet you if you come into my kitchen and you see me chop an onion, you're probably gonna die laughing, right? But somebody with this certain level of experience and expertise, you can come in and actually show somebody, look, this is not the right way to do it. It's not the most effective way to do it.
Yes. So there's this nuance to life that I've learned, and it's like you can read a recipe in a cookbook, but then you go practice that. And when you get in it, there's nuances learned, and so it's one thing to look and say, I could probably do that. But then when you go practice it, you pick up all these internal intuitive nuances that you only get by doing. And, for me, I can slice an onion and show you the textbook way. You cut this way, then you go into it, then you cut across. It's very precise.
Okay.
So you cut it in half and you've got the core, right? And then you
only said 3 steps and you lost me already.
Let me slow down. So this is half an onion, right? You see these lines?
Yeah.
So this is like the lines in an onion. So we're going to lay it flat on our cutting board, and then you're going to make cuts this way. Step 1. Then you're going to rotate your knife and cut into it this way. Step 2, all the way back, almost to the core, 90% in. You're going to turn your knife perpendicular and cut across. So you got 3 steps to the perfect diced onion: purpose, passion, and potential.
I love that. Yeah. Thanks for breaking it down for me. Look, I hope nobody in the audience is as slow as me, but I love that. And then, so you use the onion to be the analogy for your framework, and the framework is purpose, passion, and
potential. Yeah.
Potential.
Yeah.
All right. Why those 3?
When I first started the business, when I was back there peeling all those onions, it took a while to build the client base, and finally I got the local newspaper. They did a spread on me, and we just had a conversation. And in that process, those 3 Ps really came about, and they just kind of stuck. And I was like, this means something to me, and at some point I want to do something else with that. And for me, it's this idea of finding your purpose, and then discovering your passion and developing your potential. And I think one begets the other. And at whatever level, if you can do that, I think you'll have a life well lived, and you'll ultimately be successful in an authentic way,
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that purpose can change? Do you think purpose is something that almost like you were put here for this purpose, or do you think purpose can change over time?
I do. I mean, I think it's one of those big picture questions I think we all ask ourselves. And I know for me, the idea of purpose has gone through some iterations. And I think I started out I had this idea of being a chef and doing some things. But as I've gotten older and kind of filtered all that, it's like, I feel like now what I do with my business, and as I'm moving into the speaking space and whatnot, like, it's missional in a sense. Like, I feel like I was born to do this. Like, I was created for this. Like, for me, it's not just about a job. It's like, I'm taking my design, I'm taking my wirings, I'm taking my function and my passions, and serving others and helping others and adding value to others through that. And for me, that equates to a purpose,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think your purpose sometimes finds you, almost like as you're doing things, as you're continuing to pursue your dreams or your full potential, and then you start to find like, look, man, I'm actually doing more in this space than I even imagined that I would be doing, and I'm helping more people than I imagined I'd be helping.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, one of the reasons I went into teaching, I thought that was going to be the long game. And my brother's a teacher, and I saw outside looking in what that was like. And there was some niceties to it. Then I got on the other side, and that's a different story. But it was a great experience for 5 years. I'm glad I did it. But, I was developing some skill sets and adding value to the students. And, that was meaningful. I have some great memories, and I have some students that still say hi every now and then, and that's super cool. But for me, I just said, I want to play in a bigger sandbox, and I want to do some different things. And so, like, purpose has kind of went through some iterations over the years,
Yeah. And so you're tying now kind of your 2 things that are going to help you reach your full potential, which is your entrepreneurship and your business in one hand, and then you have your speaking. And how do those 2 tie together?
Yeah. So, for me, the speaking is something, I kind of had an itch to look into that maybe 3 to 5 years ago. There's a couple organizations, and I'm part of their coaching community that's helped me kind of move in that direction. But it wasn't the right time, and I just kind of sat on it for like 3 years, and then went through some personal challenges. And 2023 was really hard, and some adversities. And a failed business partnership and marriage even. And so through that, it kind of gave me something to say and taught me some lessons about where I was lacking, but also gave clarity into what I didn't want. And through that, I was like, you know what? Now's the time to pull the trigger on this. Like, I have a message, I have something to say, and I know there's people that need to hear it. For example, like when I went through some of the things, like I was YouTube binging people that had information I needed and how to navigate through pain and heartache. And then I had to be like, you know what? If I can take this, package it up, bundle it up, and help someone else, I'm in. Let's do it. So.
Yeah, a lot of times people find those hardest times in their life as the part that they want to shelter, the part they want to hide and tuck away. And I think it's people like you that can, help so many people, because believe it or not, you're not the only person going through it.
Yeah.
That same message is going to resonate with, so many people. And you kind of go through that test, to have that testimony and to be able to pull somebody else up and pull them along, because people are watching you.
Yeah. And that's interesting. There, you go through that and you ask questions about why me or what this, and, my career journey and trajectory's not been textbook. And I think I thought it was supposed to be. I wanted it to be like, but it's not been that at all. And it's been lots of ups and downs. And somehow I still am confident that it's plan A. I just didn't realize it, And so we're on track, and I want to be about doing big things and making a big impact. And so we're positioning and posturing ourselves to do that now.
All right. What is your audience that you want to speak to, and how can people find you in that world, in the speaking community?
Yeah, so my website's kevingreenelevates.com, and I'm focusing now on colleges and universities, again, with the 3P framework. I dive deeper into that through keynotes and workshops, and I really hone in on like identity. Like, I believe if you know who you are, you can then know what to do and how to do it. So it's this idea of like, I know who I am, I know what I'm supposed to be about, and then I can put a little icing on that cake and how to do it. And so focus on colleges and universities, and again, helping students kind of not have to go through what I went through by having more information on the front end. It's not just about trying to make grades, like answer some big picture questions while you're in school. So then when you get out, you don't have to backtrack.
All right. I like that, that audience that you've niched down to as far as college, because I think they're kind of overlooked community. Right. Because a lot of people, they want to mentor, help, and develop kids, high school, middle school, because they go through a tough time. Yeah. And then you've got people who are always looking for, the audience is adults, right? So they're looking for self-help. They're helping these people with relationships, different things like that. So I feel like that gap is just really kind of stepped over when it comes to that university age.
Oh, for sure. And, I've thought about that and kind of processed it, and thought about corporate, thought about college, and figure out where my skill set and value could most benefit. But the more I think about it, if I take it back, then that's, and sometimes the audience finds you, and I think the audience will hear your voice and it'll resonate.
Yeah. Just make, you find your tribe. Those people kind of pull towards you.
Yes, you've heard that.
Yeah. And so during this time, this season, that you were going through things personally and professionally, both at the same time, that's probably the two biggest things you can have happen in life, right? And how did you get through that period of time? Because if you're losing the relationship for business and you're losing the personal relationship, who do you lean on?
Yeah, so 2023 was tough. I think we all have our own adversities and challenges. And this was a year where I had decided to leave teaching, relaunch the business. And just through that, I met some people. I thought I was going to expand the meal prep business. One thing I learned about me, and this is, we all have strengths and then we have weaknesses. And I was terrible at setting boundaries socially. And I was terrible at understanding my value and worth and what I brought to the table and how to position that. So I almost partnered with someone to help me scale the meal prep business and realized quickly that that was a toxic situation. And so I had to course correct. And then, I had to work on some communication skills as well there, like just one-on-one with people. I was grateful and gracious to have some friends. You know, I'm an athlete. I do High Rocks competitions, and it's a hybrid fitness training. And my gym was just there for me. I had some gym bros that were just there, and kind of did some Q&A and some therapy sessions in the sauna. I just relied on some friends for a while there to get through, and then. Last year I eased into the last year. So January I took it light. I didn't force issue with the business. I had, I had financial savings and securities. And so I just kind of eased into that, took my time, and then said, about June, I was like, I'm ready to press on the gas again. So
I think it's important to notice things early and pivot quickly. And I see that you definitely did that. Sometimes people in fear of not being successful or in fear of, being a failure or being seen as a failure, they'll keep a bad situation going. And I think it's good that you notice that early and you're like, look, this isn't the right business move for me. This isn't the right business partner. Maybe it's the same goal and I still want to achieve the same goal, but I got to have the right team. I got to have the right people alongside me to go along this journey. And I think it's good you notice that early.
Well, that's so true. Like who you partner with, whether it's personally or professionally, is so key and critical. And, I realized in that process that, how do you say, maybe I had grandiose ideas. I mean, this was someone that, I'm a coach, I'm a business coach, and I want to help you scale and do all these things. But this person wanted a pawn on his chessboard. He didn't want to help me, And so I had to filter that, process that, and then kind of reposition. But the neat thing about it, and, it provided clarity into what I really wanted to do. Like my current business model is simple and streamlined, but I have autonomy and control. And we talk about core values like that. Those are things I value. There's a reason I didn't like working nights as a young chef. There's a reason I didn't want to schedule it change all the time. There's a reason I only work a few nights a month right now. So that autonomy and control were core values for me.
Yeah. And having that freedom and that flexibility, I know that's, because I don't want the stress of somebody else's schedule all the time, right? So I'm willing to take on certain additional risk or pressure, so I can have that.
Yeah.
On the back end.
So yeah, I was talking with someone recently, and it's in what we do, he had just opened a butcher shop here locally, and there's risk involved in uncertainty, and there's the ebbs and flows, but we find a way to manage and consider the trade-offs, so I think it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, look, I appreciate you, Kevin. I've been, I want to share and make sure we touch on some things, for your business, how people can reach you. Mm-hmm. So obviously in the description, I'm going to have ways that y'all can contact Chef Kevin Green and some resources that he's been willing to share, some free resources that he's given out to the audience. Anything else you want to note or leave that I missed out on?
I don't know. I'll say, Dr. K, some people find it interesting. I was on Food Network's Chopped.
Oh.
Yeah, you didn't know? Season 53, episode 11. And so invite people to check that out if they've got the TV channel, the app. So that was a defining moment. And yeah. I'm in the High Rocks space, a High Rocks competitor and active, and that's one of my personal values. And so that's important to note. So we're, as part of the brand, there's a wellness component, there's a lifestyle component, and then, our passion and 3 Ps. So.
Well, I love it. I've enjoyed our conversation. I want to hopefully in the future do this again. As we both evolve, as the show evolves, and as your business evolves, maybe we can come back together and give something else. I'm in a space at a university right now. My son had a basketball tournament, and so I acquired some space, but I'm in a space that's not mine, and they're about to hold a conference in here, so I'm getting the boot.
They're about to kick you out, Dr. K.
Yeah, they're about to kick me out, so I got to wrap it up. But I have truly enjoyed it, and until next time.
Yes, sir, Dr. K. Thank you so much. We'll see you. Appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Success Leaves Clues podcast. Be sure to follow Dr. K on Instagram at Dr. K Washington or the podcast page at Success Leaves Clues Podcast. We'll see you here next time.